Welcome to 5 Strike Weekly. This week we break down not one, but 2 matches. That crazy match out in San Jose and that dominant performance against Real Salt Lake. And we preview what could be the match of the season this weekend against New York Red Bull. All that and more, coming up.
Welcome to the show, 5 Strike fam. I'm AJ, this is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. So guys, let's get into that improbable San Jose match where we got the 4-3 win from a 4-1 deficit. Just, we looked incredibly awful in the first half and for most of the second half too.
First 2/3 of the game, maybe?
Yeah, and somehow pulled away with this win that I think propels us into, you know, a really good run into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That first half was, Tito goal aside, one of the worst we've played in the sense of we're like so loose at the back. Aside, it was just so loose. The passing was so bad. Mind you, they created great chances. Joseph got through a one-on-one, took it too wide, cut it back to Tito. Just gets cleared off the line. I mean, it was. But then at the back, it was just what is going on. Yeah,
so leaky.
And then you move into the second half, and then you have a guy that I've never heard of do a Messi impression and go past 5 people in our defense. Yeah. And then scores a golazo, and it's just like, great, that's that. And then it hits 4-1, and I'm basically ready to just kill myself, but I'm like, I can't turn this television off because then I'm going to be a plastic. And then all of a sudden, when I'm just like going through my woe is me, what is happening, we're going to lose every game from here on in, to wait, we have a penalty, all of a sudden it's 3-2, then it's 3-3, something's going on, we're attacking like we're Manchester United in the 90s, and then boom, it's 4-3, I'm screaming like a crazy person at 1 in the morning. I just could not believe what happened. It was a great second half, you might say. The second part of the second half was great. Everything else was terrible. I don't know what else you can draw upon that game, but say maybe, hey, like you said, this is one of those games where you say, we can win, you get that never say die attitude, and then that propels you into the playoffs and helps you win trophies.
Yeah, I mean, this is that type of match, though, especially, you know, it was definitely a trap game, for one. Secondly, you know, getting people to stay up for a 11 p.m. Eastern time match on a Wednesday night was going to be difficult already. And so a lot of people already probably turned off when, you know, they scored the maybe second goal, third goal. Who knows? I know I definitely had people texting me and just being like, what is this?
I was one. I was angrily texting AJ, I'm going to be honest. There were some words that were said there that I'm not going to repeat. I wasn't proud, but to be fair, they deserved it at the time. Yeah,
no, it was pretty horrendous, and you know, I wouldn't blame anybody that had actually turned it off, but boy, did you miss a cracker, because, man, definitely the biggest comeback in our Atlanta United history, and then on top of that, some really, really good goals, and, you know, also, you know, I think, you know, on top of that is that you could find and you could see that Atlanta United were definitely going to win after that Joseph Martinez penalty, because it was a 2-goal swing at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, you can see that San Jose were absolutely shattered, and there was a sudden belief in these Atlanta United guys knowing that there was blood in the water, that it could be had. Once they got the second, they knew they could get the third. Once they got the third, I felt in my bones they were going to get the fourth. I just knew they were going to get a winner. And I mean, they just kept going at San Jose over and over and over again. And San Jose was knackered, not to mention that their heads were down. And, you know, that's how you get that 4th goal so late, and that last-minute winner, which is the first time we've had a last-minute winner in that sense. And my God, that thing was incredible. It was that was just one of the most insane matches I've ever seen. Period, involving teams I like, don't like, just in general. That match was insane. Yeah,
it was absolutely bananas, because, I mean, you know, you have a VAR call that is just, it might be a precedent, maybe, because I don't think we've really seen something like this yet, where, you know, a goal is disallowed on one side and then it's pulled back for, you know, 30 seconds earlier, but they were reviewing a handball. And the handball, you know,
it was a handball. I mean, in my opinion, it's crazy considering that I think as a whole, we've spent the entire season hating VAR, because in a lot of ways it's not helped Atlanta United at all. But in this case, it's like a very weird situation where by following the laws, I think the ref did everything right, because the ball doesn't go out of play. He's not blowing play dead in the middle of play to go review something.
Beyond calling it when it happens.
Beyond calling it when it happens, which is the thing of, how did he miss it to begin with? Because the guy moves his arm towards the ball. Like, it's easy. I mean, I didn't see it in real time, to be fair, but that was probably because I was so angry at the people calling
Everyone's
the game.
half asleep too, sure.
I'm half asleep and I'm just yelling at the TV because none of the announcers can pronounce any guy's name right. They can't decide if it's Joseph or Joseph within a 5-second period. McCann, it was just bad. And
Lorena Wicks.
Yeah, it was a struggle. And then, but I mean, he pulls it because the ball doesn't go out of play until it goes into our net. So it sucks for San Jose, but he followed the rule right, and it was absolutely a penalty. And everything that I said bad about VAR is forgiven because it worked out for us that time. And you know what? It was nice.
Yeah, no, it at least gave the most entertaining match of the season, and it definitely is. We were kind of vying for those big moments in the season, and this is definitely one of them for sure. Because beyond that, I mean, you have Joseph Martinez's
brace.
Yeah, brace and the record-breaking goal against Orlando. That's a big moment. But yeah, we were looking for these things that you can kind of call upon at the end of the season and be like, oh man,
for me, that's the moment. That's the moment. I mean, nothing else is. I mean, again, that's the first time we've ever won a game with a last-minute winner. Never mind the fact that we were losing 4-1 and somehow win 4-3. So it's like, I don't know how you win a match when you're losing by the same number of goals that you end up, having. It's crazy. But, I mean, hey, 3 points is 3 points. They got the result that I felt that they needed to get because it was 3 points against the worst team in the league. But, I mean, goodness knows the way that we got there was definitely an adventure. Yeah,
definitely an adventure. But, yeah, let's break that Joseph Martinez goal down where, he got the game-winning goal. And it's just, ridiculous. You could feel it coming.
The game was so open at this point as well that when Atlanta United gets into a foot race with someone running end to end, it's just not going to end well for whoever's matched up with them. There's too many players with too much talent that are too quick on the ball, which is what happens. And you see a guy get on the ball and then boom, things happen.
Exactly. Yeah. So Barco finds some space to slip in Miguel Miron on the left, and Miguel Miron puts a fairly early cross in, and Joseph Martinez slips away from his center back, and he just heads it to the far post, and what a header! I mean,
what a goal! I mean, but to be fair, this is not uncommon for Atlanta United. Yeah. I mean, it's been happening all season where Joseph Martinez consistently manages to elude and slip these center backs because his movement is so good. So not smart. To mention, he is an incredible athlete in the air and heads it to the back post. There's nothing the keeper can do. Bish bash bosh, 4-3, 3 points in the bag. Yeah. Happy days.
Absolutely, and I think it's all because of that very momentous VAR decision that is right, but it is absolutely a very strange night overall, and I don't think you can draw that up at any point. We thought this was going to be probably more of the blowout win, and it turns out
we scored a lot of goals, just conceded a lot as well. But I mean, I guess to kind of wrap this game up as a whole, it's like the play style I don't think we can draw a lot from because it was crazy. But the momentum and the team spirit that you take from that, in addition to the 3 points, I think is just the biggest thing. And as far as moments go, that's got to be one of the top moments in this club's history so far.
Yeah, and you can see in the team, they definitely were absolutely pumped after this match because they knew they didn't play well at all until they really brought it on and showed more positive attitude, and they definitely just were able to keep them from scoring completely, and they were able to do the business and win on a really improbable night overall completely. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those that really kind of spurs that momentum into the next game. And
at the same time, though, I mean, as soon as that match ended, I'm thinking, bloody hell, I'm exhausted. I can't imagine these guys that have just played 97 minutes out on the West Coast. They got to fly back and in 2 days off, and they have another game against one of the hottest teams in Major League Soccer in Real Salt Lake.
Exactly. Won their past 2 away games, but no, I was definitely on a high still. I couldn't sleep at all.
Yeah, I mean, it took me an hour to fall asleep. I'm not even gonna lie. But at the same time, I was emotionally exhausted from watching it. Yeah. And I know the players had to be both emotionally and physically exhausted because they're the ones putting the work in.
Right, and then they had to take a charter back home, and it's like,
I'm gonna be honest, I was worried, but to be honest, that was one of the best games of the season I've seen against Real Salt Lake. They took care of business.
They did. It was quite possibly one of the easiest matches that we've had to deal with this season, where essentially it was so dominant, but and you didn't really feel like they even like took the foot off the pedal. It was just that they didn't need to score anymore. It was just 2 goals was enough. But you know, not to say that Real Salt Lake didn't come back with a little bit of vigor and try to score, but
they hit the post one time. But I mean, they were flirting with the offside line all night and couldn't stay onside, which is really, really a great testament to Atlanta's defense and how organized they were, especially considering they were starting a 16-year-old at the back.
For sure, it was a very, very strange formation. So we saw the 4-3-3, your favorite 4-3-3 on you know, against San Jose, which didn't quite work out.
Didn't work in that situation. The personnel was not right. I want to say the personnel was not right.
Yeah.
However, the personnel was right against San Jose.
Oh, yeah.
But the crazy thing about that formation against San Jose is we saw the return of the 4-3-3 in a sense, but how Atlanta played was really incredible. That was one of the most technically high-level games I've seen Atlanta play, where they played a system that I don't think a lot of MLS teams could play, where technically they were playing a 4-3-3. It was just Jeff Larenowitz's role was to drop deep and collect the ball, sit between the last 2 defenders, that he was just that deep, and it enabled the team to be incredibly wide, but also saw Escobar coming from playing one of his worst games against San Jose, which I thought he was absolutely atrocious in again, to playing, if not his best game, against Real Salt Lake, where he was incredible whenever he did go forward. He was great in his tackles, he was very physical, and he absolutely neutralized anything going forward down that side.
Yeah.
But
you can see that.
Incredible.
Yeah, you can see that for Franco Escobar, it's when he's in a more disciplined role, he really thrives because he's not, you know, getting himself out of position, and then, you know, man can win a header, man can tackle, and man can really distribute a little bit too, and so it's good.
He had a great tackle in the second half where he slid tackled the guy, got up, and then was running with the ball. And I was like, who is this guy? I'm going to give you a clap here because that was impressive. Do that more often, son.
Exactly right. Yeah, I think, he does probably just need to be a little bit more, you know, stay back a little bit more and just pick and choose his moments.
That right-sided center back role suits him a lot.
Right, it does. But, you know, and so that hybrid, you know, in possession and then in defense, I think all in all, I think it looked more like a 3-4-3, obviously, with Miguel Miron on the left wing more, and Nagbe just really bossing the midfield completely.
Him and Remedi, it's like having two Energizer bunnies constantly running around the midfield because both of them are everywhere constantly, the whole game, tireless. You get the defensive, just absolute robustness of Remedi, and then you have just the silks of Darlington Nagbe, who again was fantastic going forward. He shrugged off some guys in the first half. I mean, he was just incredible on the ball. And those two guys together, that's a hell of a midfield combo because you got one guy that can do the dirty work, another guy that can play any ball in his locker, and they're both covering massive amounts of ground. Right. That was a whole lot of fun to see.
Yeah, and then Jeff Larentowicz, you know, playing in that muted role, and it's just
it was perfect because he just got to feed them the ball, and they just ran up and down the field the whole time. He just had to sit there, collect the ball, clean up anything that happened in front of LGP and Escobar. And it was just incredible. It was a tactical masterclass.
Oh, for sure. And then even like LGP was making forward runs, and he was
like Franz Beckenbauer at some point in time. I looked at my dad who came into the match, and I was like, what's going on here? I mean, at certain points in time, he's all the way up in Real Salt Lake's corner flag. I'm like, what is going on?
And to be fair, he had a shout to do it. I mean, it was one of those where we were so dominant in that period of the match where it was like, why not have a pop and try
some of the balls he was playing over the chip balls, he was playing over the top into the channels. I mean, he was having. I mean, the whole team was just absolutely incredible. And I think really we have to start with freaking Bello, man.
Yeah, George Bello. You know, the homegrown. You know, just one of the youngest players to start a match. And
16-year-old starting in front of 72,000 people.
Insane.
Oh my goodness. At 16 years old, I was playing JV basketball. I couldn't even imagine that.
Exactly. And, you know, he looked like a grown man out there. He dealt with Jefferson Savarino, his opposite number, like just without really much of an issue. Didn't really put a foot wrong. But he did tire. I mean, obviously it's a lot. He's 16. It's a lot faster of a game than he's used to with the academy, with Atlanta too. But he had just you know, a lot of moments where he was one-on-one against Savarino, and he just dealt with it so well, and you know, didn't let him get past him. And then plus just the attacking with his speed, with his crossing and quality. It's just just ridiculous stuff. But
I saw something in the second half that I didn't know if I'd ever see, and that was someone overlapping Miguel Almiron, and he was still running at full speed.
Yeah.
Almiron's running down the left-hand side, and I see Bello on his horse catching up to him, and I'm just like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
What is happening right now? This guy, this 16-year-old, is overlapping one of the fastest players in the league, giving him another option. And that fullback on Real Salt Lake is just there absolutely shitting himself because he's like, what am I going to do? You don't get that even with Garza.
Absolutely.
With McCann. You do not get that. I mean, it was incredible with how well he played, how comfortable he was. He definitely grew into the game. You can see a little bit of nerves maybe at first to going forward. But once he got involved in a couple of attacks and got some tackles in, he was absolutely comfortable in that role. I think he's the left back moving forward into the future. Maybe it's too much to start him this weekend against Red Bull.
Yeah.
For me, though, at some point in time, it's just like, you throw the kid in the deep end, and so far he's looked pretty good. And if he can swim, then you know you've got one special on your hands. And that's kind of what happened with Alphonso Davies up for Whitecap. So, I mean, similar roles. So he might be the next one on that line. And just to see a homegrown guy from Douglasville to do that, and the ovation he got as he walked off the field was one of the best ovations I've heard from Mercedes-Benz Stadium give a player in its time being open. It was well deserved, and I can only imagine that filled him with a lot of pride.
Yeah, and it's an interesting kind of thing because I think defenders just get into the game maybe a little quicker because of maybe our depth issues at the moment at left back, and then also I mean like essentially if you're an attacker like Andrew Carlton, it's gonna be a little bit different where
when the people ahead of you are Tito and Joseph and
Miggy essentially,
even Marco to a degree. So it's like. But at the back, when everyone's hurt, sometimes, injuries can help you find those diamonds, can help you give that youth player that chance they need to take it and move forward. And I'll certainly say that George Bello took his chance on Saturday, and I cannot wait to see more of that guy.
Yeah, and teammates were saying, early on in the preseason, they knew that, this guy was already, ready for MLS. It was just a matter of time, where he got his opportunity, and definitely he got his opportunity and he showed out. And and the opposite on the other wing, wing back, Julian Gressel had a hell of a game, and
another goal, another assist. But that goal, what a goal that was!
Exactly, and so Miggy just hanging all the way to pretty much the byline, and crossing it above everybody. Everybody thought he was probably going to cross it to Joseph, but no, he picked out the pass and saw Gressel on the right side of the box, and Gressel all alone, able to take that touch on his chest down. What a touch!
Hits it with the outside of the right boot, bends it all the way into the corner.
Yeah, and just
given way too much time and space, I will say. But do not care, because that guy hit a ripper. And the celebration to boot, he was just so pleased with himself.
Yeah, it was just
it was just
come at me.
Here I am, and I mean, him on the right at right back, Escobar at center back makes so much sense. And I think going forward, especially with Parker's getting older, I'm not saying he's done yet, because he's not. He's been incredible so far this season, in my opinion. Just had a little bit of a game that's probably affected by fatigue against San Jose.
I think so. Yeah.
But I think that long term, Escobar could be that right-sided center back, and depending on how long he's here, Julian Gressel could be that right back. But that being said, I mean, if he keeps playing like this, there are going to be some people interested in this guy, because you don't get this many assists doing, being average or not covering ground. His, tactical fluidity, where he can pretty much play in whatever role you need him to play in. Not to mention he can score goals. I mean, that's going to draw interest. I never would have expected this from this player, and we've talked about before how much he's impressed us this season. But he right next to Joseph and Miggy, he's undroppable. I mean. He has to play in every game, and I think he's the best right-sided wing back or right back you want to call Major League Soccer right now, because him overlapping with Tito on the right, that's just incredible. I mean, and it speaks to not only just the depth, the width, just the talent of this team. And I think you're seeing what's close to their final form and how they played against San Jose, not San Jose, but Real Salt Lake, in that fluid 3-4-3 width. That reminds me of what this team wants to do, and I think if they can get going in that, not many teams can stop them.
I think that's what's going going to be so dangerous going forward against you know, a pretty decent team. They were 4th in the Western Conference.
Hung 6 on Colorado, 6 on LA Galaxy. And I mean, no slouches.
Right, and the fact that, you know, if we, you know, come in where we have this fluidity in the, you know, the formation where the opposing club just won't even know how we're going to really set up. It's you know, are we going to be 4 at the back? Are we going to be 5 at the back? Essentially, I mean, it's really hard to defend, and you know,
you don't know who's coming from where. I mean, the amazing part is you have players like Remedi who are so intelligent that when LGP does go on a Franz Beckenbauer run forward, he fills in at the back, and the formation shifts, and everyone moves, and people slot in. And whenever someone moves into one place, someone else goes somewhere else, and it's like watching perfect Pep Guardiola football when it works. But to have it work is really difficult. You have to have players that know their roles, that have good chemistry, and you have to have a good manager that can put them in those positions. Right now, Atlanta United have that going forward. But the real test is going to be this weekend against, well, what's been the best team in Major League Soccer outside of Atlanta this year. So we'll see.
It's true. But yeah, and kind of to you know, wrap up this game, essentially, yeah, Tato Martino had this to say about this match and Julian Gressel. He said, "I always think the most important in their development starts with the player. For example, with Julian, I didn't develop him to play as a right back, right wing back, an inside midfielder, a right winger. The same goes for Tito Villalba. I didn't develop him to play on the right, left winger, or in the center. Those are just the qualities that he brings to the table. We try to put them in the best scheme to help them be successful." And I think that's really what it is that, you know, we have these just really good footballers that, you know, whatever position they're put in, they can thrive, and we put them in the best position to do so. And that's you know, very wise for one, and also it makes it very hard to defend.
Yeah, absolutely. And the credit for that has to go to the front office, because they managed to find these players and bring them together and put together a collection of players that many people had never heard of. And boom, you currently have, in my opinion, the most exciting, the most attacking, and the best team to watch in Major League Soccer, who should, by all accounts, win Supporters Shield and MLS Cup. And that's not me coming from a Atlanta United Fan TV perspective. That's me coming from what I've seen this season. And they've been the most consistent. That being said, Red Bulls are a team that is by far the most dangerous team they're going to face. And again, they will figure out where they face up with that challenge this weekend. Yeah,
definitely. And guys, that moves us into the news, and we have clinched a first-round playoff bye. Thank the Lord, because
don't want to deal with that again.
Yeah, last year, you know, Columbus Crew, not the best feeling after that. But you know, getting that first-round bye, that means we, well, probably face a tougher opponent, but still, I think we're, you know, put in a better position, and I think we have better feelings going in than having to maybe fight for our lives. You can get a,
For me, with the two-legged playoff, when you're the better team, you have that second leg at home, which is honestly what I want, because I think we can do the business away from home wherever we go. The away record so far this season says as much, even if it's a difficult team. I've got faith in this team to score goals on the road. And when you play a two-legged tie, that's key, because if you can score goals on the road, then that puts pressure on the other team to come and attack you at home. So even if Atlanta United draws, say, 2-2 on the road against whoever they are, if they get a drawing result with goals, that team's going to have to attack Atlanta United. And if a team has to attack Atlanta United in the bins, that's a different story than if a team comes in with a lead, sitting back, holding on to something. If Atlanta United can take that, get a result away from home, and bring it back, I don't give very many teams chances to win if they have to come in with an attacking brief against Atlanta in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Agreed. And, you know, next piece of news, the team came out with a very hilarious video where basically they pretty much had a red herring of a FIFA card for Brad Guzan, and you know, you have reactions from Michael Parkhurst, Brad Guzan, Eric Remedi.
Eric Remedi and Tito Villalba steal the show from me in this one. I watched this so many times, I was in tears. Remedi's face when he sees it, he is just pissing himself. And Tito knows, he's standing up, he's like, hold up. He plays a lot of FIFA. He's just like, this is not right. This is not right. Oh, and Brad's reaction is just like, man, look at that pace. Julian can't believe. He's like, how are you faster than me?
It's and you know, it's obviously more like the numbers are of his actual goalkeeping stats, but
goalkeepers have different cards,
exactly.
so those stats mean different things.
But hilarious nonetheless, and I mean, I think hopefully none of you got confused where you thought, yeah, wow, Braguzan, you know, can really dribble and should probably play the wing or something, but no, it's you know, he's a very very good keeper in MLS, and you know, the other stats should not reflect what those entailed. But yeah, and if you haven't seen that video, go check that out because it's just hilarious. But next piece of news is that, yeah, I mean, Atlanta United, they are in the pole position for the, you know, Champions League, that spot that you can get with the most points in 2 calendar years. And we are at 118 and definitely lead NYCFC by a good margin that we're pretty comfortable. So, I mean, this is the backdoor way in, but I mean, if we win MLS Cup, then that's our way in. But I think, you know,
I think either way, you're looking at Champions League soccer next
right.
year for Atlanta United.
Right, and that definitely means good things, you know, and hopefully with, you know, our star players and maybe our star head coach hopefully staying, then we can make a real run at it and, you know, see where it goes from there. But I think for me, it's always been about, you know, just give me as many trophies as possible.
Absolutely.
Because, you know,
I think that if, you know, you win a Supporters Shield, an MLS Cup, and a CONCACAF Champions League, Miggy can ride off into the sunset next summer when it'll be like, you know what, man, it's cool, thanks,
exactly.
Appreciate it, thanks for the good times.
Right, and that definitely ups his value as well, because that he'd probably be a huge part of that run, and so, you know, that definitely ups his transfer value. All good things. But next piece of news comes from, yeah, it's just, you know, there's something about Tata Martino almost every single day. And this one, tonight on Tuesday night, he was linked with Mexico, and that's Jorge Ramos of ESPN. I don't know if I put any stock into it, but, you know, these rumors are coming out nonetheless. And
the one we know for certain is that Atlanta United have offered him a contract. That was reported by Doug Roberson from AJC after the San Jose match last week. So that's the only thing we know for certain, is that Atlanta United have offered him a contract. Now it's up to him to see if he wants to sign that, and his decision being next Monday on the 1st of October. So we'll find out then what his decision is. My gut feeling is I think he's got a little bit more time here at Atlanta United. I think he's got a little bit more unfinished business. I think he'd like to see what can happen in the CONCACAF Champions League. Maybe it's only a one-year deal to keep him around for one more year. Who knows? But I mean, when it comes to comfort, money, and pressure, I think he has a win-win-win on those accounts here. But it's up to him.
There is a little bit of where, you know, there was a report that came out that Tata Martino's wife maybe hasn't settled as well as maybe she would have liked. That is just a report though, and so maybe that is a factor where maybe he would want to move back to Argentina so that they could just be really comfortable. But you know, maybe that's one factor that is maybe delaying the decision. But we shall see. It's
so give Atlanta some more time. It's fine.
Exactly.
It's fine. Give us some more time. We'll win you over. We love your husband a lot. If you're watching this, Ms. Martino, please stay. Don't go.
Yeah. But and so next piece of news is that Atlanta United have found sort of some replacements. It's going to be probably a lot of you know, maybe moving pieces, and you know, it's not a straight one-for-one type of replacement for former VP Paul McDonough. Essentially, yeah, we've hired Chase Favaline, and you know, he comes from the Atlanta Falcons. He's going to be the director of player administration. He's going to handle player contracts and the MLS salary structure. But yeah, he you know, so Favaline, he came from Atlanta Falcons after 11 seasons.
Kind of an in-house move in a sense.
Yeah, essentially. So he's familiar with at least, you know, how Darren Eales, maybe how Arthur Blank likes to kind of do things a little bit, and so he gets a little bit of that continuity. But I do worry about, you know, maybe his soccer prowess and maybe how you know, in depth he can get into it. But I think, you know, they've made very smart hires throughout their history so far, and so I think I wouldn't be worried too hard. But he doesn't, directly replace what Paul McDonough really brings to the table, and I think that's going to be multiple roles being brought in to replace somebody that talented and that skilled in just the MLS salary structure and soccer and kind of the operations of a club, and not every single club can just have one person to do that. So.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think what's also interesting was with that news coming out, it also talked about how Atlanta United are looking to expand with at least 3 more scouts, so they can reach more regions and bring more talent into Atlanta United and its academy. So I think that even though it's not going to be a straight 1-for-1 swap, you're seeing them hire people in specific roles to do specific jobs, and maybe by spreading that workload out, they can all do better jobs. Yeah. Obviously, he's going to have a learning curve, but again, like you said, the club's been hiring the right people so far, and I think they will continue to try to do that. By doing that, they're setting this groundwork for this club to be very good for a long time. Expanding scouting, making sure they're getting these people, these young kids in, working with programs like Soccer in the Streets, putting all this infrastructure in place to be one of the top clubs in Major League Soccer. And as a fan, you have to be nothing but appreciative of that, because you see how much they care about the details. When you care about all the little details off the field, you're usually going to have them right on the field. Agreed.
Yeah, and that moves us to our injury report. We're doing this, I mean, nothing really has changed, but, you guys ask us pretty regularly about, the statuses of players, and so, we're just going to give you, where they're at and when they might come back, and so...
all fullbacks.
Yeah, all fullbacks. Yeah, exactly. And so they're all fullbacks, but yeah, Greg Garza is still on his regular timetable, probably going to be coming in at the late end of October, and probably just right before the start of playoffs. So if he can get himself ready and match fit, then maybe he might be able to play a part. If not, I mean, I think we see that we have a couple of people that can really take
that role.
Yeah. Fill that role and take the steed. But yeah, and we also have Sal Zizzo and Mikey Ambrose, who are out with the same injury, pretty much identical in time frame as well. I mean, I think pretty much that we're not going to see them for the rest of the season.
They're done till next year.
Yeah, but at least we have a little bit of depth, especially coming in from Academy and Atlanta United too, that we can maybe stave off that. Let's just hope for no more injuries beyond that. But it seemed that Michael Parkhurst was just rested, and so nothing has come out about him being injured or anything like that. So
3 games in 7 days would be a lot for him.
Yeah, exactly. For someone in his mid-30s, yeah, it's you gotta be smart about that, and I'm glad we actually did that. But I didn't know if Tata Martino was gonna do that.
I didn't know if he believed in rotation. Yeah, clearly he has a little bit.
Yeah. But so moving on into Atlanta United 2, they unfortunately took the 6-1 loss against North Carolina FC. Yeah, very crooked letter or crooked number score there. But the good thing to come out of that is that Alessandro Castro scored his first professional goal.
And guess what?
Yep.
It was a banger.
Strictly bangers. That's just
bangers only. FC is what Atlanta United 2 is. Oh, it's your debut. It has to be a banger. Yeah. Oh, there's only a bunch of 17-year-olds. Doesn't matter. We're going to score bangers. Yep. If they score goals, it is an absolute blaster. And this one's up for goal of the week again, I believe.
Exactly. It's up for USL goal of the week. So vote it the winner, and make that kid feel good. Because they're definitely a little bit reeling at Atlanta United 2, but they're gonna get past that.
Absolutely. But that actually takes us into the standings, where Atlanta 2, they don't do so great. On the other end, Atlanta United doing pretty good. After picking up 9 points in 7 days, sees our point total shoot up to 63 points. That's 6 off the record, by the way, and sees them have a 4-point gap over Red Bulls going into this weekend, which we talked about last week, how important that is, because it gives them a little bit of leeway. That being said, this Supporter Shield race is tight, but they can really start putting a wrapper on it if they can get a decent result against the Red Bulls this weekend. A draw, and they can win it against Chicago if they beat both Chicago and New England. If they beat Red Bull, they can win the Supporter Shield against New England Revolution at home in 2 weeks' time. And I think we would all love to see them do that. But as far as the Supporter Shield goes, it's those 2 teams. We'll find out a lot about it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think, even looking further into this this table for a second, is that just the goal difference alone, pretty ridiculous for us. Looking at the bottom of the table,
I just want to point out that the team at the bottom of the table, and I'm not even going to mention them. We all know who they are. They've scored 40 goals this season. Joseph has 30 by himself.
Exactly.
Their goal difference is like, what, less goals than... It's just not good. It's just a whole lot of bad. And, yeah. I mean, what can you say when it's not a very good club run by people who don't know what they're doing?
Yep, there it is.
Shame.
Yep. But that gets us into our mailbag questions. Guys, you guys send those questions graciously from Instagram story. Please send those in every single week. We love seeing what you guys have to ask. And first question comes from Just Call Me Doll. She asks, I think, who do you see stepping up to captain if, when, Parky and Larry move on?
I think if Parky leaves before Larry, Larry becomes captain. And then I think some teams captain their goalkeeper. I don't know if Tata's one of those guys, but I think you could definitely see Guzan being a captain. But I think long term, I think LGP is a guy
that's
you
my
could see
pick.
for sure as LGP. I think he's going to be at the club for a very long time. So I think he's going to be that captain you see after Parky leaves for 5, 6, 7 years potentially, because I think he's the guy. He wants it. I think he absolutely loves it here. We love him. And unless someone comes in and scoops him up from us, I think that guy's going to be our captain in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I think you can see it with, the way he just brings players under his wing, and especially if they're a new signing or, whichever, he is really just welcoming to any new player, and especially the Argentine ones that come in. But yeah, I mean, it's just he can speak both Spanish and English to a relatively
and his English is getting better.
Yeah, and so he can communicate with nearly everybody on the pitch.
He's just a funny guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in the FIFA video we were talking about earlier, when they show it's Brad Guzan's card, he's just like, Brad? What? Like, he's so confused. Oh,
yeah,
it's fantastic. What a great guy. Love the guy. Great beard. Great passing for a center back, especially for Major League Soccer, and I love him for that.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty unanimous pick. Yeah, LGP is going to be the captain.
I would love to see Joseph captain us one time. Before he leaves, I would love to see that man walk out with the armband, because it would be awesome. If not permanently, obviously not permanently, just for like a game, just because it's awesome.
Yeah,
and he deserves it.
I mean, he's one of the first names on the team sheet as well. I mean, if not the first name on the team sheet, so if he's healthy, so absolutely.
I think it'd be really cool one time. Same with Miggy. Like, if we know he's leaving, let him captain us one time before he leaves. I'm sentimental about stuff like that.
Yeah. Next question comes from Mats Sassine, or Matt Sassine. Yeah, Matt Sassine. The question is George Bello going to be a starter in the next few seasons?
Okay, months, maybe not. Seasons, yes. Months, I don't know. I'd like to see him start more. I'd like to see him kind of grow in and play some more games. I don't think Red Bull's probably the best game for him yet.
Yeah, probably not.
Even with BWP gone, I don't know.
The pressure that they're able to put on.
That they're putting on him, probably not wise. I don't think you need him bombing down. I think that you absolutely should see him against both New England and Chicago. I think at home against teams that are bad, play him. Please play him. I'd rather see him play over McCann, because he offers so much more going forward against teams that are going to be sitting deep, and you need that creativity. You need that overlapping. You need that width from a player. And then going forward, I mean, goodness knows, he's 16 and it's one performance, but you don't, just churn out a performance like that based on luck. He was confident. That was class.
And you're not taking free kicks and corners for, the whatever, Academy or Atlanta 2 team if you're not just really quality
on the ball. Yeah. And so I think going forward, he's going to be our guy. But that being said, if he plays as well as we think he can play, as well as he showed he can play, I don't know how long he'll be here, because again, it could be it's a good thing, but he could very much be another player a la Alphonso Davies that someone sees and goes, oh, he's 18, he's really good. Some big European club might come snap a player up with that much potential, and he'll grow through them. But that being said, that's going to be a cool 20-ish million for Atlanta United that they keep every single penny of. And that's a player that we all get to pull for in a big European league, as long as he doesn't play for Liverpool or City.
Next question comes from Matteo Andante. He asks, do you think 4-3-3 is the best lineup we have right now? Would you rearrange anyone? Yeah, I mean, so 4-3-3 definitely was that on Wednesday, but Saturday, more of a red herring. It was more hybrid 3-4-3 ish, something like that. So yeah,
where positions aren't really where you're on the team sheet and where you play isn't really defined.
Right.
It's very much a very progressive style of football that you would see a la Pep Guardiola, Marcelo Bielsa, people like that who prefer lots of players moving around, very fluid lineups. That being said, I think the idea, the base of your question is yes, this is probably the best way that we have in order to get our best players on the pitch in their best positions. I think the lineup we saw on this past weekend, on Wednesday, definitely not good. Against Real Salt Lake, I think that's the one where that with a few changes every now and then, that left wing back. I don't think it plays as much of a 3-4-3 if you have McCann there, because I don't think he can cover that space as consistently as a Bello could.
Yeah, because you also see them morph into a 4 at the back with, you know, like Bello coming back, and then, you know, Franco Escobar being the right back, Julian Gressel moving up a little bit.
Or you see Jeff Thurman stepping up more into a midfield role, Gressel sitting back, and you having a traditional back 4.
Right.
So
yeah, it was just so fluid, and then but you also, I mean, you have to count for Parkey being, you know, back in the lineup for sure, and so somebody has to sit. I think, and then also, and Ezequiel Barco is on the bench in this type of scenario. So I think,
that being said, I've been loving that recently. When he comes on with about 30 minutes to go, and he's running at like tired players, when he's fully fit, you're really seeing him be able to execute his skills, his ability on the ball, because players aren't able to stay with him now because he's fresh and he just goes past these players because he's, you know, his center of gravity is so low and he can just dribble on a dime. I thought he played really well against San Jose when he came in, and I thought again he played really well against Real Salt Lake when he came in as well, especially considering the team were playing a different style at that point in time. But you could definitely see that everyone was kind of tiring and they sat off a little bit more and played more on the counter. But he still did really, really well. So he's been improving a lot recently. So that's a good thing to see. It's good to see him, you know, getting put back into the team, getting reacquainted with everyone, and people accepting him. And, you know, they're playing well, and you can see that as a team. The chemistry is strong right now.
Yeah, and, you know, I think you'll see those players kind of swap in and out maybe, but I think the idea is probably the same, essentially, where you have, you know, either a midfielder that drops back into you know, a center back 3, or we start with a center back 3, and you know, some sort of formation where that does allow us to just have the best players on the pitch at all times possible.
I think what's interesting is how much Bello has an impact on that.
For sure,
because you play more of a 3-5-2 if you have McCann in there with Miggy a bit more central and drawn back, because you don't want to be overexposed on the left. But when you put a 16-year-old kid on the left, it enables you to play the most expansive, wide, attacking, fluid soccer you've played all season.
Agreed.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and so yeah, I think we would rearrange people, but I think it's just gonna be naturally anyway with, you know, players coming in and out, where you have 13, maybe 14, arguably, players that you can sub in and out at any point. It's just incredible depth. So just it's almost unfair at this point. But next question comes from AC Davis 8. They ask, "What's your favorite goal scored this weekend?"
Does that include really San Jose?
Yeah, that includes San Jose, and so I mean, I think anyway. We'll
so here's my thing. There were 3. All right, 2 goals were goals, and when I say that, I mean like absolute bangers, and that's Tito's against
that curler.
That was incredible.
Upper 90s.
That was bins. Just naughty.
Yeah.
And then you have Gressel's just chest control, and when it comes to sheer quality of goals, it's between those 2.
Absolutely.
For me though, my favorite goal was by far the Joseph winner, because I lost my mind at 1 in the morning, and he won the game that we had no business winning, and that was the first time that has happened where I've seen an Atlanta player score a goal in the dying minutes of the game for us to win a game we had no business winning. I lost my mind. That gave me the most just madness.
For sure.
And that's the one I went with, even though the other 2 are both nominated for goal of the week. I see what you did there, MLS, trying to help us split the vote.
Oh yeah.
Wankers. I hope both could win, because they both deserve it, because they're better than anything else.
Yep.
But aside from that, I mean, it's just incredible.
It was incredibly hard for me to choose between the 2, I think, and I'm gonna ask you which one you chose. But for me, I had to choose in terms of for the MLS goal of the week. I think it had to be Tito's, because
I chose Tito's as well.
First time top
it takes a little bounce right before he hits it as well, like a small little bounce, and just to be able to put the body control to curve it that far with that much pace. I think he's the only person on that team that can do it like that, because he's done it consistently, which is why I say he should play on the left, because look what happens every time he shoots on his right foot when he's on the left-hand side. He scores bangers. But Gressel's was just, I mean, incredible, but he was a little bit closer. Went through some people, I don't know, they were both just phenomenal freaking goals. We got to see 2 of those in a span of a few days. I just love this team so much. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, it's just incredible. I can't say enough. Agreed. It's insane.
Yeah, very true. And that gets us into our match preview. It's the big matchup of the season, essentially. I mean, it could decide some things.
It could decide absolutely nothing at the end of the day.
True. So. But yeah, it's this Sunday at 3 p.m. against New York Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena, and you know, it's a match where, you know, there's utmost importance on it, but there is this big elephant in the room. Is Bradley Wright Phillips, their star striker, is not going to be playing because he has been suspended.
Because he's an idiot.
But yeah, so he you know, got a yellow for something pretty silly, just barking at the ref, curse words and everything, when they're already 2-0 up against Toronto FC, and they're really gonna win. And really, just dude, you gotta chill, man, because if you're trying to play this game,
he was being a dickhead.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what you can say about that. That's the summary there.
Yeah, and so you know, so yellow card accumulation. I mean, if you knew that going in, that's just not wise, and he's done this before in the past. So, you know, like,
let your team down there, buddy.
Yeah, if you're trying to say that, oh, it's a, you know, super important match, and MLS should and the refs should you know, have some sort of favor towards you, it's just, yeah, good luck with that. In our previous matchup against New York Red Bulls, we unfortunately lost 3-1 at home at the Benz in a very controversial match.
Joseph's goal should have stood. That was stupid.
Yeah, Garza unfortunately went off injured there.
And a red card.
Yeah, and a red card.
He got sent off injured, I think is what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Insult and injury.
Yeah, he was, yeah, the ref definitely, like, waited for him to get up, and he was ready. He couldn't get up anyway, but, yeah,
you're gone.
Get in the guard, exactly. it was a silly move there anyway. Yeah, he cut in, and he could have passed. It was a strange situation. Yeah, definitely. But you know, and so we definitely have things to rectify. You know, they've gotten 2 wins against us at home, essentially. Yeah, and so we need to really you know, kind of really put something, you know, as a marker down, in that, you know, guys, like this, you know, in the playoffs it's gonna be way harder. You know, and so you know, their statistical leaders, BWP leads their team with 19, but he's not playing, so you know, it's pretty fantastic. And so, you know, backup striker, yeah, bring it on, bring it on.
Actually, don't bring it on. Just show up and do nothing for 90+ minutes.
Probably
I'd really appreciate that. Yeah. Forget what goal you're going towards. Score an own goal. I don't care. Just don't do anything positive.
Yeah, I can dig that too. And Kaku leads their team with 14, as well as, you know, our 2 leading assist players are Miguel Miron and Julian Gressel, both with 14, and so
those are the leaders in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I mean, so you know, and guys, it's such a important match. I feel like that, you know, if we, you know, we can drop 2 points.
You can draw this match.
Yeah,
like Atlanta United. But to sound, I don't want this. This isn't the mindset, but don't lose.
Yeah,
that's really the scenario. Don't lose, and everything's in your hands.
Yeah.
I mean, get a draw, get a win, don't lose, and everything is in your hands, at home no less, to win Supporter Shield, to win the league in the regular season.
Yeah.
Again, which makes me so salty about playoffs sometimes, because, like, if this was an actual title run-in, this game would be so much bigger, because it's like, oh my god, if Red Bulls win, it's 1 point, and then there's 3 games to play at the 1 point, that's just madness, and who knows, and then they would be the record, they would win because they beat us twice or whatever. It's like, that's why I love traditional league settings, also because playoffs make me nervous because anything can happen. But Atlanta are on the cusp of not only winning Supporter Shield, they're on the cusp of having the greatest regular season in Major League Soccer history in terms of points total. So if you get a result against this team, you win your 2 games at home, you're sitting on 70 points going to Toronto with the record by 1, and they're going to be salty about it for 90 minutes. So, you know, win this game against a team that's missing their best player, when you're in good form, puts on a marker not only for the playoffs, but also lets you win the league next week against New England Revolution, who were terrible, and we owe them one because that game in New England earlier this season was stupid. Weak penalty, should have scored about 5, and they get the 1-1 draw. So I have something to owe them, and I'd love to win the league against them. Also, I hate Brad Friedel, so that helps as well.
And so that gets us into what our predicted lineup would be, and I think for me, I think it's a that hybrid, but more of that 3-5-2 because I think McCann comes in for Bello. I think it's hard to sit Larry, but man, I think Larry sits.
It gives you the interest. It gives you a very interesting conundrum in midfield. I mean, again, it's crazy how a 16-year-old changes your whole way that you play. But that's the case that we have here because if he plays, I think again. Maybe drop Escobar and put Parkhurst in that role, which is harsh to Escobar because he possibly had his best game of the season.
But they're going to be super susceptible on the right, where their lack of pace together is really going to be exposed.
I don't think Larry fits in a back 3.
Yeah.
Which again is the issue because then what do you do on the left? Because you're not gonna you have to drop someone in that midfield if you're gonna play Larry, and then who do you drop? I'm not dropping Rometty or Nagbe right now because both of them, especially together when they're both fully fit, that's something that I don't think anyone else has in terms of dynamism and energy. And obviously you're not gonna bench Miggy, so what do you do? I mean, Tata has a very interesting conundrum on his hands, and I think a lot of it comes down to how much trust does he put in George Bello. Because if he trusts him, he's going to play something very similar in terms of lineup. It's going to be more of a 3-4-3. If he doesn't, then he has to move everything around, and then what do you do? So, I mean, on one hand, he has options. But he's got to make the right ones because if you don't make the right choice, then I think, you're not going to be in the best position to win. But that's why he gets paid the big bucks.
Right, true. So for the record, I think it's Guzan. I think it's Escobar, Parkey, LGP, and then Gressel, McCann as wingbacks, Nagbe, Rometty in the middle, Almiron, and then Villalba and Joseph Martinez up top. So.
I think it's going to be, and people might hate this, but I think he actually might go with the 4-3-3 with obviously Guzan in goal. Then you have McCann, LGP, Parkhurst, Gressel, a midfield 3 of Nagbe, Lorinowitz, and Rometty, front 3 of Almiron, Joseph, and Tito up top. I think that midfield 3 is going to look a lot different to how it played against San Jose. I think that game was a lot more fluky. I think the midfield 3 is going to make them very strong in the middle of the pitch, and it'll still give them that back 3 with Larry sitting in the middle of it. Kind of how they usually do, but giving him a bit more in front of him with both Nagbe and Rometty to kind of clog things up. That makes it, a game of the wings. And I think if it gets to a game of the wings, Atlanta United would win that battle because wider out, we have better players. So, and that still gives McCann that ability to be, a little bit more conservative. It leaves Miggy on an island, don't get me wrong, but I think when it comes to players who can create for themselves, he's one of the best at it in this league.
Yeah, and I think he can combo with a Nagbe, and Joseph can kind of come over to that side a little bit more as well. And so I think it's I mean it's plausible.
I think that scenario gives that front 3 the most freedom to do what they want to do, and I think that's probably the best thing you can do for them is let them go up and wreak havoc, and I think that's going to create a lot of problems for teams.
Yeah, you're living and dying by that 4-3-3, man.
I am. I'm gonna swear by it. I'm gonna swear by it.
All right. But so that gets us into our score predictions, and what do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. I think we know we only need a draw. I think even without Bradley Wright Phillips, Red Bull are still a really good team, and they're going to be gunning for that win. But I think at the same time, we know we don't have to. And I think there's going to be a confidence and a calmness about that team to take that result. I think they're going to want to win, but again, I think they know they don't have to. And happy days, get that 1 point, win the league with 2 games at home.
Yeah. I think, we have this momentum, 3 wins in a week, 9 of 9 points. I think, going in, we have all this momentum, and I think we're going to use it. And I think we put this marker down, and I think it's a 3-2 win. And
I'm digging it. I don't know if I can deal with another heart attack like that, but
that's a lot of goals.
I'm fine with it. Either way, I'm fine with it. As long as we get a positive result, I don't care what it is.
So let us know what you guys your score predictions are in the comments below, but that gets us to our Waste Man of the Week.
Oh yeah, this is a pretty easy one. Honestly, I enjoy this. Bradley Wright Phillips. He gets Waste Man of the Week, and it is not for a shocking reason. Yeah. When you get a yellow card, when you are one away from getting a suspension, and you have the biggest match of the season because your team is trailing by 4 points in the Supporters Shield race, and you get a yellow card for absolute stupidity. Like I said earlier, he was being a dickhead, because that's what players like him do. And like AJ said, not the first time. Congrats, you got yourself suspended. Let's hope it leads to your team losing and choking on the Supporters Shield, because that would be fantastic, and it would also make you a waste man.
Right, and they're known as always being the bridesmaid, and so, you know.
I'd love it, where if they win nothing and they just finish second and everything, that'd be great. I mean, it is what it is, but someone's got to win, and I'd like it to be the Five Stripes.
Indeed, indeed. And that gets us into our question of the day.
Yeah, and actually, it's a little bit interesting, and I'm sorry, I'm going to change it up on the fly for you real quick, because I thought something is pretty darn interesting. Okay. Julian Gressel made some comments this week about how there's a couple teams in Europe that are looking at him. But earlier, I'm also talking about how George Bello, if he keeps playing the way that he's playing, might be gone by the time he's 18. Coincidentally, if he's 18 and Julian Gressel 2020, by 2020, which player will still be at Atlanta United? Bello, Gressel, or both? I'm interested to see, because neither one of them could be here if they keep playing the way that they're playing. So again, who's going to be here in 2020? Bello, Gressel, or both? Get down in the comments and let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, but guys, that's it for us today. Remember to subscribe if you haven't. Remember to share this video because it really does help us a lot. And smash that like button. And for Tanner McLeod, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching.